Welcome, graduates. Congratulations. And welcome and thank you to the family of these graduates. Thank you for all that you did to help them get to this very special day. We see you. And a big thank you to the faculty of Palo Alto University and President O'Connor for the honor of inviting me to be your commencement speaker this year. It's truly a privilege. I'm a Black feminist. Y'all know Black feminism, right? It's a theoretical approach and a political stance that centers the needs of Black girls, women, and non-binary folks. And in doing so, it works to critique and dismantle the systems of oppression that harm all of us, like racism, like classism, and sexism. I love Black feminists and their wisdom so much that I got a tattoo from one of my favorite Black feminist writers, Audre Lorde, on my shoulder that reads, "I am deliberate and afraid of nothing." Yeah, such wisdom, right? It's a compass and an affirmation reminding me that when I slow down, get grounded, the outcome is less anxiety for me and better outcomes for everyone who I'm around. Now, you don't have to stand for Audre Lorde like me and get her wisdom inked on your body, but do get the messages that she has that can help us with our healing. And that's what I'm here to talk to you all about today, being deliberate about your healing. See, I know you all are graduating today with degrees in counseling and psychology, but do y'all consider yourselves healers? I define a healer as anyone who's doing the work to remove anything inside of themselves that gets in the way of their ability to love themselves or to connect in love with anyone else. And I mean love the way that scholar Bell Hooks defined, as a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, respect, trust, and responsibility, right? So I'm not a healer because I have a PhD in counseling psychology or run a mental health practice. I'm a healer because I'm doing the internal work and striving to not be a barrier to the wellness of any living being or thing, including this earth. Y'all feel me? Yeah. So whether I am in a counseling room or on an airplane or at the dinner table, I'm still a healer. I'm still deliberate about my personal wellness and our collective wellness. Now, one of my favorite Black feminist authors of all time is Toni Cade Bambara. She has this really powerful book called The Salt Eaters, and it's set in this fictional town of Claiborne, Georgia, and it centers around a community healer named Minnie Ransom. And the book starts out, and Minnie Ransom is talking to a young woman who had been brought in to her care. That woman's name is Velma Henry, and Velma had made a couple attempts at her own life. And we don't know any of this background yet, but the book starts, and the very first line is, "Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well?" And then we understand what's going on. We start to get the background, and Minnie continues talking to Velma, and she talks about how wellness is no trifling matter, how healing and wholeness, there's a lot of weight to that. There's a lot of work to that, right? And those are the messages and statements that I want to raise to you today. Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? Are you sure, sweet graduates, that you want to be about the wellness of others? That you want to support others in their wellness journey? Being a healer in this world requires that we are well. Think about it. Y'all just completed courses and clinical experiences where I know you wanted to show up and give your best and be your best, help others to reach their highest selves. And some days you were able to do just that. And there were probably other days where you struggled, maybe where you weren't as well or weren't focusing as much on your own healing. And if you're anything like me, then maybe on those days you struggled a little bit. Maybe you got short with folks. Maybe you were a little bit defensive, maybe a little more competitive. Maybe you weren't able to soak up the knowledge that these faculty were giving you. Maybe you didn't show up to some of the people and things that you care about. I know I've had periods of time when I wasn't as well and when I caused harm. And if any of that resonates with you all, I just invite you to acknowledge that part of yourself. You might even put a hand on your heart and just offer a little bit of tenderness to the you that wasn't always your best on this journey, but who's so much more than just those moments, and who is constantly striving to be more and more well, more and more whole. I know it wasn't hard for y'all to make it to this stage today. You got your degrees during a whole global pandemic. I was still a faculty member in the psychology department, leading my lab of undergrad and grad students when this pandemic started, and I just remember feeling so scared, so powerless, so uncertain. We were all in that space, being sent home in that spring of 2020, not sure if we were going to come back to the projects and the people who we had invested in and cared about, grieving people that we were losing, trying to adjust to virtual connections. It was a lot. And you persisted and made it here to your graduation day. Despite a global pandemic, despite incessant violence against Black and brown bodies, despite the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the constant House bills chipping away at the safety and dignity of our trans and non-binary siblings, and despite those personal struggles that I don't know, and maybe you didn't tell anyone else, but that I know you all faced. Y'all did that. I see you. I see you. Honor yourself. Honor the you that worked to make it, to get to this stage, to get to this day, despite all of that. You resilient, brilliant beings, you found a way to survive and get a degree from this incredibly esteemed university. Love yourself. We honor you today. And so as I call on you today to consider whether you're ready to get deliberate about your healing, know that I'm not downplaying the work that you had to do to cope and survive these ridiculous realities that we're all surviving out here. No, I want you to remain compassionate with yourself and also be critical, because you deserve more and the world really needs more from you, especially as folks entering the counseling and psychology space. And so as you graduate today with this degree, I want to invite you to also consider whether you're ready to graduate from coping to healing, whether you want to graduate from the goal of being a counselor and psychologist, which you are becoming that, to the goal of being a healer. I actually learned the most about healing from my mother, Letty Mosley, who's here with me today. Hi, Mommy. Thank you for always being here for me. Let me tell y'all one of the earliest memories I have of my mom and her ability to heal. When I was around 9 or 10, I started getting these really bad headaches all the time. And my mom, she would lay me down, she would get a cold towel, douse it in alcohol and lay it on my forehead, picking up this strategy from her elders and ancestors. And she would sit by my bedside and whisper to me and pray over me until I finally fell asleep. And when I did finally drift off, she would leave my room and leave my door open, and go to her room and leave her door open and rest very gently, listening intently for my slightest whimper. And she wasn't okay with me experiencing this pain over and over again. She and my dad, they invested their resources, time, money, to figure out the root cause of my suffering so that my vulnerable child self would not continue to experience that same pain over and over again. And it worked, and by 11 or 12, those headaches were gone. But until they were, she taught me how to take care of myself, how to prepare for when the headaches would come and she wasn't around. My mom was deliberate about my healing. Now, there are some counselors and psychologists out there who don't quite know how to listen that deeply. There are some counselors and psychologists who don't equip their clients and their community members with the tools that are culturally relevant and helpful to them, who don't honor and respect spiritual and ancestral ways of healing. There are some counselors and psychologists out there who aren't aware of their privilege, let alone be willing to give it up so that they can help someone who's in a more vulnerable situation than them. I don't think these folks would consider themselves healers. Maybe they could use some lessons from my mother, and I hope that you'll carry forward her wisdoms. And more than that, I hope you will start to look around and find wisdom in unconventional places, places that you might not have otherwise valued, and also especially find those wisdoms within yourselves. Trust and honor that voice. Just a quick sidebar, I had wrote this speech over a month ago, and then I set it aside, wrote something else, more entertaining, more palatable, started memorizing that. But I came back to myself, got deliberate, listened to my inner knowing, and brought the words that I know I needed to bring to you all today. Please practice constantly checking in with yourself and learn to trust that inner voice. And that practice is easier when you are deliberate about your healing. Y'all remember the definition of healing, right? It's doing the work to remove anything inside of you that gets in the way of your ability to love yourself or to connect in love with anyone else. And by love, I mean it like a verb, like bell hooks defined, as a combination of care, commitment, trust, knowledge, respect, and responsibility. When we're deliberate about our healing, not only do we have more personal wellness, but we show up to the collective more present, more gentle, accountable to those in our spaces and care. We enhance collective wellness when we are deliberate about our healing. And I need y'all to be deliberate. You graduates have so much power, and those of us facing the oppressions of racism, sexism, classism, sizeism, ageism, ableism, xenophobia, trans negativity, this world is violent, it is hard. And so we need you well, especially as folks with professional identities in counseling and psychology. Come on. Come on. When you're not well, that means that not only are you not able to use the tools and skills that you picked up here over these last several years to help us experience more wellness, but you're also more likely to cause harm to us. Any of y'all ever had a professor, a manager, dare I say a clinical provider, who you knew wasn't well, who wasn't healing? That person had power over you, capital P power, what author and organizer Alicia Garza defines as the ability to impact the conditions of your own life and the lives of others. Parents, politicians, us mental health professionals, we have capital P power. And whether you know it or not, by virtue of completing your degree, completing this academic program, you now have that power. And it matters very much that you are well. If you've been in those spaces with someone with that kind of power, but without the awareness, without the wellness, then you know how risky and vulnerable it can be, how on guard you have to be, how little wellness is present for you there. It matters that y'all are deliberate about your healing. Now, there's also lowercase p power, and that's the power that we have with others who affirm and love us, the power that rests inside the word empowerment. I hope that you are cultivating loving community where you can be empowered as you grow into your identity as a healer. Today, your degree is being conferred to you. Will you be deliberate about your healing as you continue on from here? Will you recognize that your personal wellness and our collective wellness is so deeply intertwined? Will you practice empowerment with people who believe that we are all worthy of wellness? And will you constantly work to be aware of how your capital P power is showing up and how you can use it? I believe you will. I believe you will make a difference because you will be deliberate about your healing. I believe it. I am so radically hopeful about what you all are going to do in this world. My goodness. You have put in the time, you have studied, you have learned from incredible leaders, you've gotten their vouch, you've got your loved ones here supporting you. I know that if you did and have all of that, then you can take on this charge. Audre Lorde said, "I am deliberate and afraid of nothing." Now, we may not always be able to be as brave as the great Audre Lorde, and you may not feel that you have all the tools just yet to answer in the affirmative to Tony K. Bambara's question, "Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well?" Or my addition, "Are you sure, sweet graduates, that you want to support the wellness of others?" But I know that if you are deliberate about your healing, you will get closer and closer to having the impact on the world that you want. You will help ensure that there is more wellness for more of us. And you will be less and less afraid every day. Stay deliberate. Our collective future is in your hands, graduates, in your powerful, powerful hands. Please take care, be deliberate. Congratulations.